I probably shouldn't start it. This is scratching my ear. I don't know what was going through my mind. Anyways, so yeah, this is my second video of the night, and this video is a review of Mules and Men by Zora Neale Hurston. I started this in February and finished it today, which is March 2nd, but I'm still going to include this in my February reading. And actually, I need to take it off on Goodreads as read. So anyways, for the month of February, I wanted to read all books that were written by African-American authors. And I'm really, really sad to say I did not read many titles because February was a very, very busy month for me. I only read Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, which I did a review on, and then Mules and Men by Zora Neale Hurston. But I was really excited to read this book because this book wasn't a novel. It was like an anthology. Hope that's the right word. Maybe not. Whatever. Anyways, get a dictionary, Vita. It's a collection of African-American folklore from the South. And so I was really excited to read this book. Basically, Zora Neale Hurston found some rich white lady to sponsor her to go down to Eatonville, Florida, which I believe is where she was from, and collect all these African-American tales and folklore and the things that they talk about and stuff. I guess that was a big thing to do, is to just sit around and tell all these tall tales. And so this book was a collection of those stories that she got, and then also the second part of the book is about her. She went down to Louisiana and got initiated into the practice of voodoo or hoodoo, and so she was talking about her experiences with that. I liked the book. I didn't love the book. I didn't really like the book. I would probably give it maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Simply because even I didn't find the story super entertaining to me. I think maybe if I was from the South or from that region of the country, they probably would have held a lot more appeal to me. And also, I found the book very hard to read, and it's not a very long book. It's only 246 pages. But I found it very difficult to, read with fervor because there was no definite plot line. She was really just talking about, we're hanging out with this person. These are the stories they told. Went and hung out with these people, and these are the stories they told. And so it just was not a book that made you really want to pick it up and read it, because I find with novels and stuff, the reason why you get so like, I got to read this book is because you want to know what happens next. Well, this one doesn't really have a happens next. It's just all these little silly stories that are told. And so I feel like this is the kind of book that you could read in conjunction with reading another book, because I'm not the kind of person that can read. I'm super itchy because my allergies are just going bananas. But anyways, this isn't a type of I'm not the type of person that can read more than one book at once. So I have to read a book, finish it, read another book, finish it. I just cannot handle multiple storylines. And so, but this book I feel like I could read in conjunction with another book, because there's not like, what happens next, or there's not a plot line to follow. It's just all these collection of stories. And then another thing that made this book very difficult for me is she writes the way the people talk during that time, which is kind of a very broken country kind of English, and I find that very difficult to read, because for me, being the grammar Nazi that I am, and really, really being very stringent about spelling and things like that, my brain just kind of wonks out. And so sometimes I'll be reading and I'm like, okay, I'll just correct it in my mind and make it right and then read it, and then that takes longer, and then I kind of go back and forth between correcting it in my mind and then not doing it and just trying to understand it, and so it's just kind of a little frustrating for me. And so I can imagine someone who maybe didn't grow up around that kind of language. I think as Black people, we kind of have a little bit more of an advantage, so to speak, with reading this. And so I can imagine that someone who, didn't grow up around a bunch of Black people, that didn't grow up in the South, that would even be harder for them. And she did that in Their Eyes Were Watching God, but I think because there's a story to follow, you kind of fall into a cadence, and so you begin to kind of, be able to decipher it a little bit better, where this book wasn't like that. Because when she starts talking, or when she's doing her narrative, her English is a little bit better. And so when they're going to the stories or when she's doing the dialogue of the people that she's around, she kind of reverts back to that sort of broken English. And then when she's talking, it's a little bit better. And so you're kind of flipping back and forth. And so I found that very difficult to follow. My favorite part of the book, the reason why I said 3.5 stars, I did like it, is because the hoodoo section was very, 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 very interesting, because I've always been super interested in magic, and I dabbled in Wicca when I was a teenager, and so I love hearing about those kinds of things. And so the hoodoo section I was super, super excited to get to, and I knew that once I got to it, I would really, really be into the book, and it was true. Once I got to that hoodoo section, I just breezed right through it. And so I really did enjoy the section on hoodoo. What I didn't like about that section is that she doesn't really talk about how she felt about hoodoo. Like, you don't get a sense of whether or not she actually believed in it. I kind of feel like she was just getting initiated into the practice and studying amongst these people just for the sake of writing for this book, but you don't get any feel for how it made her feel, or her thoughts on it, or whether or not she thought it was real. And even though some of the instances that she talked about, the things that the people did, produced the results that they wanted, but she still never really gave her opinion of it. And so I really would have liked to know how she felt during the rituals and some of the ceremonies that she underwent, if she felt like she made any contact with any spirits or anything like that. I really would have liked to know that. She only talked of 2 instances where she had any real interaction with spirits, and even then she didn't really give you an idea of how that made her feel. I would have liked to have known if during the rituals, if she felt anything different or saw anything, or felt like, she had attained some sort of magical prowess or something like that. And so she just didn't talk about that at all, which I think she kept it that way for a reason, because this book is just supposed to be a collection of, stories and folklore and stuff like that. And so I think she intentionally left her opinion out of it, but I really wish she would have put it in there, because I would have liked to have known how she felt. And then the book does end kind of abruptly. It's just like, okay, and this is the last story I'm going to talk about, and then that's it. So I really wish the hoodoo section would have been a little bit longer, because I would have loved to have heard more stories about the different people that came in and the issues that they had, and how they wanted to, the hoodoo doctors to fix it. And so I would have liked to have had a little bit more about that. But that's kind of what elevated the book in my estimation, is that hoodoo section, because even without those things, it was still extremely interesting, very intriguing. And then at the end of the book, she has, hang on a second, I don't know. At the end of the book, she has appendices, I don't know how you pronounce it, with Negro songs with music. There's a little sheet music in here. At the end of the book, there is also she has some of the hoodoo stuff in there too, like some of the spells that they did, and some of the ingredients that you need to have for the rituals and stuff. And so it's pretty interesting. I didn't really read that section in detail, but it is at the end of the book if you wanted to go back. And she had a lot of references and stuff in the back, and a glossary, and so it was pretty cool. So overall, I did like the book. I wouldn't say I necessarily enjoyed the read, but I did enjoy that hoodoo section. And I still really, really like Zora Neale Hurston. I love her voice in the books. I like just when she talks. And, the things that she talks about, I really, really like the way she phrases things and stuff, her writing style. I really like it. So it was it was a good read. I liked it. I just didn't love it. But I did like the book. So, yeah. So anyways, that's my review. If you've read it and you liked it, or you didn't like it, or you want to read it, whatever, or you want to ask a question about it, I would love to hear from you guys and know your thoughts. And so I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will talk to you guys later. Toodaloo. Bye.